Let's face it, we argue all the time. Whether it's with friends, family, or that smug barista at Starbucks, arguments happen, and we've all had our share. And sure, we like to pretend it's about deep philosophical debates, but honestly, it's mostly about trivial nonsense. Who left the lights on, whether to separate laundry colors, or if bed making is a real chore? It's not. But hey, it's fine. Most people don't argue to win. They argue to scream their dumb feelings into the void like toddlers who skipped nap time. Here's the thing though, winning an argument isn't about being right. No one cares about right, it's about being effective. Here's how you can look like you own it. Step number 1, embrace this fact. Everyone is wrong except you, obviously, and that's not just my opinion, that's science. Research in cognitive psychology shows that humans are plagued by something called confirmation bias. This basically means that we are all walking around, cherry-picking information that reinforces what we already believe, and filtering out everything that challenges it. In short, everyone's stuck in their own little bubble of being wrong. Except, of course, you, because you're watching this, and that alone makes you a genius. The key here isn't to correct their wrongness. Seriously, we're past that, but to exploit it. Instead of hitting your opponent with facts, which they'll just reject out of hand, you need to make them feel like you're right. You're not dealing with a rational person, you're dealing with a walking, talking ego trip. Their logic is about as solid as wet tissue paper, and that's where you come in with the emotional haymaker. And that brings me to step number 2. Be a mirror. Reflect their nonsense back at them. You know what's more annoying than someone who disagrees with you? Someone who agrees with you too much. This is where your secret weapon comes in. Mirroring. Psychology speaking, people are more likely to agree with someone who reflects their own opinions and words back at them. It's called the chameleon effect, and studies from the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology show that when you subtly mimic someone's behavior or speech, they're more likely to warm up to you. It's like mind control, except you don't need a creepy basement lab to pull it off. So, you are in a tough argument. Instead of steamrolling their opinions with your superior intellect, which, let's be honest, you totally could, repeat their own argument back at them in a way that's so exaggerated, they'll start questioning their own sanity. For example, I honestly think the Earth is flat. All the evidence is there, man. Oh, 100%! I mean, how dare NASA lies to us for decades? And the fact that every plane ride is basically just a straight line is obviously a cover-up. Flat Earth is totally the only logical explanation. This technique is both condescending and brilliant. You're making their argument look so dumb, they might just change their mind to avoid being associated with it. Step number 3, weaponize science, but don't overdo it. Here's a wild idea. Some people don't care about facts. I know, it's shocking. But according to the backfire effect, discovered by researchers at Dartmouth and published in Political Behavior, when people are presented with facts that contradict their deeply held beliefs, they actually double down on their wrongness. Imagine that. You provide someone with solid, undeniable proof. And instead of saying, "Wow, I never knew that, thanks," they say, "You just made me even more convinced that I'm right." Humanity, man. So what's the move here? Simple. Drop some select science bombs, but don't rely on them to win. Use facts strategically. Sprinkle them in like hot sauce, not ketchup. Just enough to make a point, but not enough to send them running into the arms of their delusions. Here's an example for your next argument about social media addiction. Oh, did you know that research from the Journal of Behavioral Addictions shows that social media triggers the same dopamine release as cocaine? But hey, you do you. Scroll away. Who needs mental stability, am I right? They'll be too busy trying to process your sarcasm to fully refute the data, which is exactly where you want them. If you don't subscribe right now, I'm legally obligated to assume you lose every argument. Ever. So hit that subscribe button and drop sub in the comments. Lucky winner gets a shout out in the next video. Step number 4. Silence is golden, but awkward silence is platinum. Nothing wins an argument like the sheer crushing weight of awkward silence. Seriously, it's a Jedi-level move. When you hit someone with a well-timed pause, their brain short-circuits. Humans are uncomfortable with prolonged silence. It's why we start babbling nervously when conversations go quiet. According to psychologists at Harvard, silence forces people to reflect, and more often than not, they start doubting themselves just to fill the void. So, the next time you make a killer point, don't rush to follow it up. Let the silence marinate. Just sit there, staring at them like they've just insulted your grandma's cooking. They'll either start tripping over their own words or backpedaling faster than a politician caught on a hot mic. Oh, and make sure your silence is paired with intense eye contact. Not too much. You don't want to go full serial killer, but just enough to make them sweat. Step number 5, don't get angry. Get smug. Remember that time you got into an argument and your voice started rising, your face got red, and before you knew it, you were yelling about how your opponent's entire worldview is wrong, stupid, and probably harmful to society? Yeah, not your finest moment. Here's the thing, getting angry loses arguments. According to research from the American Psychological Association, the second you let your emotions take over, you've already lost credibility. People see anger as a sign of weakness or insecurity in your argument. It's basically like saying, I can't back this up with logic, so I'm just going to yell louder. So, instead of getting angry, get smug. Smugness is like a fine wine. It gets better with age and subtlety. Stay calm, crack a small smile, and hit them with a dismissive shrug. Step number 6, hit them where it hurts, their identity. Listen, if you really want to destroy someone in an argument, you need to go for the jugular. Not their beliefs, not their logic, their identity. People's beliefs are often deeply tied to how they see themselves. If you challenge their beliefs, you're not just challenging their opinion, you're challenging their entire sense of self. And this, my friend, is where you need to strike. Studies from Princeton University show that when people's identities are on the line, they'll fight tooth and nail to defend them, even if they secretly know they're wrong. So how do you win? You subtly convince them that agreeing with you aligns with their precious identity. Twist your argument to make them feel like changing their mind makes them an even better version of themselves. For example, I think smoking isn't really that bad. Yeah, I get it, but imagine being the kind of person who never needs to smoke, you know? The kind of person who is so in control that they can walk past a cigarette and not even blink. You could be that person, the one who doesn't need to poison themselves to feel cool. People will admire that kind of strength. Boom. They are now mentally placing themselves on a shiny new self-image, and you've just won without even breaking a sweat. Step number 7, throw in a random fact nobody can argue with. Here's a little-known trick straight up from the Department of Making Stuff Up. When you're deep in an argument and running out of steam, pull out a random, obscure fact that sounds just believable enough that nobody will bother to challenge it. Humans love trivia. It's in our nature to be impressed by obscure knowledge, even when it has absolutely nothing to do with the argument at hand. Example, I just don't think binge-watching TV is that bad for you. Oh, really? Because I just read that watching more than 3 hours of Netflix a day can reduce your lifespan by 15%. Scientists call it the binge-watcher's curse. But hey, if you want to shave a few years off your life, be my guest. Is this fact real? Who cares? The key is to deliver it with so much confidence that your opponent won't even bother looking it up. Confidence is everything. A study from the University of Chicago found that people are more likely to believe confidently delivered statements, even if they're total nonsense. Basically, you can win an argument just by saying random things with enough conviction that they sound like facts. And if they do Google it, well, by the time they prove you wrong, the argument will have been long forgotten, and that's a win in itself. It really isn't about being the smartest person in the room, though you probably are. It's about using a little psychology, reading the room like a pro and serving up just enough smugness to watch them defeat themselves without you lifting